today, Margaret Baisley and Bill Bayfield. You're most welcome.
Thank you, Mayor Leanne and councillors. We're here today to indicate our appreciation of the excellent working relationship that you have established with ECAN, and to indicate our support to you in your task ahead, and to assure you that we're available to assist you in any way that we can. Just a few points that I'd like to pick from our submission. We commend the Council for their contribution to the implementation of the Land Use Recovery Plan and Natural Environment Recovery Program, and we request that these two key projects related to earthquake recovery are identified within the Council's annual plan with an appropriate level of service statements, targets and expenditure. We support the work that you're doing to undertaking to avoid legacy issues relating to rebuild, waste and demolition storage across the city. We support what you're doing in providing to the community and maintaining operations and consent conditions for key infrastructure, specifically in relation to air quality. We appreciate the challenges and reaffirm our commitment to continue to provide technical assistance in planning and risk hazard related matters. And we are working with your staff to develop a shared services model for provision of contaminated sites information and providing technical expertise on resource consents. In terms of water, we thank the Christchurch City Council for its ongoing governance and leadership role and support in the Canterbury Water Management Strategy. And in particular, we recognise the significant support for the Christchurch, West Melton, Banks Peninsula and Selwyn-Waihora Zone Committees. Many aspects of the draft Christchurch City Council 2014-15 annual plan will contribute to the CWMS vision, and we particularly note the difference in the participation in those committees since the new council has been in place, and we appreciate that. We acknowledge the significant challenges facing the management of stormwater, and will continue to collaborate on shared issues with the council and the Stormwater Implementation Management Group. The group will respond to the recommendation from the Christchurch West Melton Zone Committee that asks our two councils to jointly investigate options to implement a collaborative community-led approach to improving stormwater management. This work will concentrate on managing stormwater inputs and discharge from all sources and land uses, particularly those that require community action. And while we are committed to responding to the Zone Committee, we acknowledge that there are urgent stormwater matters related to earthquake recovery and emergency management, and that there will be a budget priority for you. Just to finish on public transport, we recognise that we need to work better with the Council on transport matters to encourage more people to use active and public transport. Environment Canterbury is implementing the final stage of the new network of metro bus services, known as hubs and spokes. To ensure the success of this network and to encourage patronage growth, we need the support of the Council to deliver improved passenger facilities at key destinations and priority measures on congested routes. In particular, we encourage the Council to ensure there is sufficient funding in the 2014-15 budget to deliver improved passenger facilities in Riccarton and priority measures to provide reliable bus travel times between Riccarton and the central city in time for the new services commencing at the end of 2014. We commend the Council for recognising the impact that public transport infrastructure has on the success of the public transport network, and we note some issues with the level of service for congestion and suggest that this could be renamed reliability and be changed to a basic speed target, which is simpler for the general public to understand and is easily measured using the existing real-time information analysis. The amended target could clearly state the desired average bus travel speed at peak and off-peak times and which parts of the network this will apply to, and can take into account any similar targets for other vehicles. And Environment Canterbury staff will be happy to work with Council staff to develop these targets further. We support the inclusion of a level of service for the number, quality and safety of bus shelters, as these are also an important part of the passenger experience. The associated targets refer to bus stops rather than bus shelters, so we suggest that the Council amends these to provide clarification and make them consistent. The other matters, we appreciate the positive partnership that we have with you, particularly in relation to biodiversity and pest management, in relation to Christchurch City Council's parks management. Environment Canterbury supports the direction indicated in the Parks and Open Spaces activity area, and in particular support the proposed biodiversity protection, which you outline on page 63. So thank you very much for hearing us, Your Worship, and we're happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. I'll just pick up on starting with the public passenger transport, but I won't steal anything from Phil. But a number of people have submitted here already about some of the changes to the bus routes and raised concerns about accessibility, particularly in some of our more challenged areas like getting from South Shore through to New Brighton, and I guess that I've got a desire to see an interchange there at some point that will enable probably a smaller commuter service to run up and down and bring people to that centre on that sort of, not so much hub and spokes, but a straight run down with a smaller bus, which would feed into the major bus services that terminate at New Brighton. And Riccarton obviously is something that's front of mind for all of us, because we know that we need to address that. But we also received a number of other submissions around the capacity of Riccarton Road in terms of the bus services, and so it's been quite an interesting conversation. And I wonder whether it would be a good idea if we, as a whole council, sat down and looked at the entire bus network with Environment Canterbury, with commissioners and staff, so that we could actually feed in the combined intelligence of our two organisations to get a better understanding of how the whole thing operates, because the sense that we're getting from people is that they don't feel that it's joined up, and the comments that were made recently about exploring rail was music to the ears of everyone around this table, and certainly to the wider public as well. But they get confused about who's responsible for what. So would that be a useful thing to do?
Yes, well, our commissioners asked, I think it was last week, that we try and arrange a meeting, and I think Robin Pay has already contacted your office about trying to get the two councils together on a number of issues, so we'd welcome that. The other thing is that we hear our submissions next Monday and Tuesday, and we also have submissions on public transport, so it'd be very good if we could get together quite soon and just bring all the issues together and have a general discussion on the future. So we'd be very happy about that.
Excellent. Phil?
Well, thank you very much for your submission, especially about how we continue to work together collaboratively. I just wondered, around the area of bus, and thank you for the specific point about that we need bus shelters besides bus stops. Just wondering if you've got any specific suggestions about the way that we put those in, for example, whether we have some private partnerships as well. Any suggestions on that?
Yeah, I don't have any specific ideas, but we're certainly willing to explore every avenue we can to get the best result that we can. We're certainly very keen to have bus shelters wherever we can in this climate that we live in. I think they're pretty important.
Thanks. Thank you.
David?
Thank you. I just wanted to explore the topic of contaminated sites, and we, as a city, I suppose, have gone through a fair amount of trauma in some areas with the implications of land zonings, and now suddenly we're getting a bit of contaminated sites put on top of it, and it's causing a wee bit of angst in some areas of our community. I'm interested to know really whether the analysis of contaminated sites has been based on site sampling or identification of former usage of some of this land. I'd probably use an example in the North New Brighton area, where we supposedly have a few contaminated sites, and the only thing that I could possibly put it down to was the fact that some of this land in a former time was a poultry farm.
David, I'm kind of going to interrupt because I agree that this is an important topic, but ECAN are here submitting on our annual plan rather than us questioning them about the announcement on the hail. I can tell you the answer to your question is that it's based on the latter. It is prior use, so it's not saying that the land is contaminated, it's saying that a prior use could indicate that it might be. So there has to be testing done, and certain activities will trigger the testing requirement, which would be the movement of soil or major excavation works or things like that. But
I take your point, but it has sort of probably
I think
raised a little more angst.
It has raised anxiety.
And to be fair, we have sort of discussed.
There was an attempt, I think, earlier to get it dealt with, but perhaps this is a topic that we could deal with on another occasion. I just, ECAN have come here to make submissions on our plan. I mean, it might be helpful if there is anything that you could.
Well, I could just say, Your Worship, that we saw this as trying to be helpful for people who were already restoring land, so they just had that bit of additional knowledge, so they didn't.
But this is a process that's happening throughout the country.
Well, we're leading the charge because of the earthquake and the fact that people are restoring land, and so really need as much information as they can. So they don't have to do things
But this is a process
twice.
That's happening all throughout the country.
Yes, it will. And we're happy. This could be an issue that if we meet on public transport, we also talk about this.
Yeah.
But certainly Christchurch City staff have worked very closely with our people.
Yeah, I'm aware of that.
Yes.
I think that I personally had been hoping that there could have been sort of more of a joined up approach around some of the testing, because there will be people with a sense of disquiet now, and it's on top of everything else. My land's TC3, my land's flooding, my land's now potentially contaminated, so it's just like, how much more can we take? But I would really accept your offer of having a combined workshop on that. That would be great. Are there any other questions for ECAN, Jimmy?
One question. At the moment, as we are aware, bus facility, there is the council responsibility. Bus route is the ECAN responsibility. And also once every 3 years, probably every 3 years, ECAN have reviewed all those bus route. However, in some of the new subdivision area, because some new subdivision area that has been completed, so quite a few people settle down in there. But how the ECAN, in conjunction and align with your review, those bus route for more a flexible, irregular, rather than just once every 3 years to review and to put to the consultation.
We are not, the once every 3-year review is important. It's important that people know that we check all the routes on that basis, but that doesn't stop us addressing issues between those 3-year review dates. Indeed, the earthquake has forced us to address all sorts of different routes and route changes. We also have programs underway, for instance, with Prestons, etc., where we know that major subdivisions are going ahead. We actually try to almost run at a loss leader, where we stick the bus route into the subdivision so that people, when they arrive there, are familiar with it and get access to it. So they're actually difficult for us, but we try to make sure that if Christchurch is growing in a certain direction, or Rolleston, then we put the buses there early so that people just learn to use them. And so I would think that working quite closely with you, particularly through the UDS partnership, we're aware of exactly where you're going, exactly where the developers are going, and trying to get the bus routes there ahead. Times are tough at the moment, but I think we're doing it pretty well. Yeah. Wigram Skies is one where I think that I see buses travelling around pretty empty roads.
Yeah. Thank you very much, and thank you both. It's really important to have your input at this level, and I look forward to meeting up with you again soon on a workshop basis. Thank you.
Thank you very much.